And welcome back in for episode 20 of the Ball Boys podcast. 20 episodes here. It took only 20 episodes for a clip of ours to do pretty well. Devontae Adams, the trade talk. Some of you loved it. Some of you hated it. Some of you wanted to correct my grammar, which I respect. But I do want to let you guys know these episodes are recorded before 8 in the morning. A little bit of slack for your boy, but Dylan, as always, joined by
coffee, straight, just running through the grind. Oh, never mind. Some people don't have coffee.
Yeah, I always got that. I'm always strapped in the morning with that coffee. But today we got some NFL football to talk about here. I wanted to start with the Thursday night game. We predicted the Packers would win. We both were on the same page. We said, in Lambeau, the Packers came back in that game feeling good, getting Aaron Jones back, getting Christian Watson back, and it fell apart. David Bakhtiari being out, and then that offensive line went from good to terrible. Jair Alexander being out, and then Rasul Douglas got cooked by the sun god multiple times. It was a statement win for the Lions, but I'm going to go with the cliche question, Nolan. Did this game tell you more about Detroit or more about Green Bay?
Definitely more about Green Bay. Like I said, I think it was last episode. I really didn't watch Jordan Love that much, and I was excited to watch him, and this was not the game to watch. So for me, I know that Green Bay had some injuries, but they look horrible, especially first half. I don't know if it was coaching or just what it was. They just looked unprepared. And for me, it was Detroit looked pretty good. Do I think they're one of the best teams in the NFC? Probably not. I think they still have to hit that peak, but they're definitely getting there. It's an awesome story. I know Detroit. I think they said on the broadcast they haven't won a playoff game since the early '90s, since Barry Sanders. So it's been that's 30 years. So that's pretty crazy. So I mean, the Lions offense, they got Jameson Williamson coming back soon. So that's a huge plus. And for me, I'm watching Jared Goff. He's playing pretty good. Gibbs is interesting. I'm not sure
He's not playing.
he is and he's not. So I don't know why you would draft him that high in the draft if you had David Montgomery leading the pack. But I think also they did the same thing with DeAndre Swift. So
I'll
is
say
that just a
this
Lions
about
thing?
it, because I know a lot of fantasy owners 4 weeks into the season, Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't scored a touchdown, are very nervous about him. And I certainly understand that. If you spent a high draft pick on him, we'll see how your team's doing. David Montgomery had a hot hand last night. I don't think the game plan going in was for David Montgomery to get 30 rush attempts. That's just not the plan for any running back, period, in the NFL, let alone a guy coming off of an injury. David Montgomery was just destroying that defense last night. There will be better days ahead for Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know if there'll be top 3-round pick days ahead for Jahmyr Gibbs. He might end up being an RB2 flex by the end of the year, and it's just probably not where you drafted him. But listen, Jahmyr Gibbs is very talented. That doesn't change on the field. And this Lions team has a good 1-2 combo. And like you mentioned, with Jameson Williams coming back, this offense is loaded. Amon-Ra St. Brown has emerged. Jameson Williams, we know he's a speedster. Sam Laporta is quickly entering the conversation of top 7 tight end in football.
In top 5.
Yeah, that O-line, that's top 5 in football. You have the running back duo of Montgomery and Gibbs that we talked about, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. Those guys aren't anything to write home about, but as your wide receiver 3, especially Reynolds, who has all that repertoire with Jared Goff, it's there. This game definitely told me that the Packers aren't quite where we thought they were through 3 weeks, but it also told me that the Lions are legit and they're ready to take that step forward that everybody thought they'd be ready to take this offseason. Now, how far does that step go when it comes to playing Dallas, Philadelphia, and San Francisco? I'm not sure. The way Dallas looked last week, Detroit could beat them in a playoff game, especially in Detroit. That's a game that would be in Detroit unless it was an NFC championship in Dallas. It was the 1 seed or whatever, but either way, in a dome, fares pretty well for that Detroit offense compared to, say, traveling to Philadelphia in January. So kudos to Detroit. They looked good. I'm excited to see what they got going forward. If I remember correctly, on the broadcast, their toughest game over the next month is at Baltimore. But other than that, this is a team that could go into the bye in Week 9, I believe, with about a 6-2 record. They could be looking pretty good. So kudos to Detroit for kind of proving everybody right who thought that they were going to be that good. They were. Now, we got a ton of action to get into for this Sunday. This is, of course, the first Sunday of the year where, we see this a couple Sundays a year. International games happen. And for us on the East Coast, at least, it's perfect because we get football right from when we wake up. Now, on the West Coast, if you want to watch Falcons Jags in Toy Story mode, you got to set that alarm.
Hey,
But
it looks really dope. I don't know how they're doing it, but we're gonna
yeah,
find out.
I'm excited for it for sure. I know that that's featured in the best bets segment, so we're actually going to skip over that. Dolphins Bills, though, not featured in the best bets segment. Neither one of us wanted to touch that game. The Dolphins 3-0 following a 70-point performance, traveled to Buffalo. The Bills favored by 2.5 points. The Bills have been dominant. This is one of those games for me where I don't want to put money on it. I just want to sit back and watch these two Titans battle it out. Josh Allen in that Buffalo offense against that Miami defense. Tua, Tyreek, Waddle back healthy. A-Chain. I mean, these guys, speed, speed, speed. Can it travel to Buffalo? It's getting a little colder up here. I went outside
That's
today.
good
I was
news.
like, oh. So it's not going to be that Miami weather that they were playing in on Sunday. I know you didn't have them in best bets, man, but where do you land on this game?
It's very tough. It's very tough because I'm not the biggest Buffalo guy this year, and the Dolphins they look very good, but my gut, something's telling me that the Buffalo Bills win this game. I don't know why. I just think because of last week's performance, they might be on a super high. And with Buffalo, they know what's coming. They got to win this game at home. And I think they'll be more prepared, I believe. And as long as Josh Allen doesn't play stupid and turn over the ball more than like twice, I think they might be able to pull this W off. But, like you said, I'm excited to watch this game. Stupid good offenses, and hopefully A-Chain breaks another 50-point performance.
Yeah, stupid good offense, as you mentioned, the highest over-under of the week at about 53.5. You said you like the under. So when you told me you like the under, I thought you were going Miami. I'm going to go Miami because the line has been moving Buffalo's favor. It seems like everybody thinks they're being a wise guy, and they're like, Vegas ain't going to get me. I'm taking Buffalo in the points. And at this point in the season, I do just think Miami's the better team. Buffalo had a dominating performance last week versus the Commanders. Sure. I think this is a game where Buffalo realizes, we need another weapon besides Stephon Diggs in these big games. Whether Dalton Kincaid develops over the year into that, I don't think Gabe Davis is that. Or this is a team that goes out and makes a trade. We talked about Devontae Adams on the block. Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs be a gross combination.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need to be to the level of a Devontae Adams, right? I mean, there's other guys you can go out and get depending on how certain teams' season shakes out. But I just think Miami's got too many weapons for Buffalo to keep pace with at this point in the season. If this game was in November in the snow, we could have a different conversation. I say it's cold, but it ain't that cold yet. I think Miami stays hot. We got a battle of the century. The 0-3 Broncos traveling to Chicago to take on the 0-3 Bears. Who is watching this game while the Dolphins Bills is on? I don't know. But Denver's favored by 3.5. And I'll tell you what, whoever loses this game, their starting quarterback won't be their starting quarterback next year. I'm not sure if either of
You
these
get
teams
Caleb
will be.
Williams.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially where we're headed here. And if the Bears lose, it's crazy because going into the year, we talked about it. Arizona, they're going to get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. Well, the Bears own the Panthers pick and their own. Maybe they get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. Denver has to win this game, right? Like Chicago, it's one thing. Chicago had these lofty expectations put on them because people thought Justin Fields was the next Jalen Hurts, which we sniffed out immediately is not going to happen. And that's cool, though. Chicago can cut their losses and keep it moving and still be on track. This was a prove-it year, kind of what we thought that this year should have been for Daniel Jones. And it's cool. When you do that, you can cut your ties. The Broncos have a 5-year extension for Russell Wilson that kicks in next year. They just paid Sean Payton, and Sean Payton said at the beginning of this year, if we don't make the playoffs, we'll be pissed. Well, you got about a 2% shot. So, and if they lose this game, they're cooked. I mean, like, they were cooked last week, but if you lose to the 0-3 Bears, you are done. The last team to start 0-3 make the playoffs was Deshaun Watson's Texans in 2018, so it has been done fairly recently. I don't think Denver will do it in a loaded AFC, but things could shake out their way, but they got to turn it around here. You take Denver to win this game, right? You're not taking Denver to win the game.
I'm taking the Chicago Bears to win this game. All right, so look, I know we got a lot of stuff happening with Chicago. All right, I think tickets are selling for this game for like $3 if the last time I saw. So if you're in the Chicago area, you got something to do, you're gonna see the Bears win. All right. So look, I know they've been playing pretty mid. They had a really tough loss last week. So did both teams, to be honest. But I think Chicago at home, Denver is allowing an extreme amount of rushing yards to opponents. And I think because of that, that's leading me towards the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields. I think Roschon Johnson has his big breakout game this Sunday. And that Denver team, I just think there's so much going on that they don't have an identity where the Bears don't either, but they definitely can. And I think because of that, I think I'd take the Bears. I know they're not even favored. I think it's 2.5, right?
It's minus 3.5.
Minus 3.5. I would probably.
I would take the points with Chicago for sure. I think this is a low scoring game. Both offenses aren't good. This is like 20-17 for me, maybe.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in either team. And
I don't either, but
this may be the battle of the two worst teams in football.
Yeah, yeah, and it's good. It's early in the season, so they have all the players health wise, so it should be an entertaining game. I hope so. So
I mean, let's be honest. The only way you're seeing it is if in the Octo box somebody scored.
yeah, but
you're not clicking it. You're not clicking this game.
Nah. But I'm gonna take Chicago, and we'll see on Tuesday if I was right or wrong. So
yeah. I think Denver wins, but Chicago plus 3.5 across that 3-point margin in a battle of terrible. That's where the money should be at. Ravens Browns.
Oof.
The Browns are currently favored, depending on where you can get them, 2.5 or 3. When I was doing my pre-research on FanDuel, I saw them at 2.5. As I go through the schedule here on ESPN, they got them at 3. So obviously there's some difference there. Either way, Cleveland favored in this game. I feel like I know where you lean, so I'm going to guide you into this one. Here's what I'll say. Good teams off of bad losses tend to bounce back. So where are you at?
Oh, man. It's tough for me, bro. I know the Ravens, they didn't look that great against the Colts. And the Colts are we don't know how they are. They could be very good this year. They could be very bad. I still can't get a read on them. So it's tough for me. And the Cleveland defense has been super good this year,
They've only allowed 21 first downs.
Yeah, they've been playing wild. They're at home, divisional game. You saw what they did to the Bengals. I'm gonna take the Ravens, but I'm not confident at all about that. And Mark Andrews, he has to do something this week. I know in the past two matchups or something like that, they've been targeting him on defense, so he might not even be that big of a play this week. But Zay Flowers, you got to step up, bro. I know you're a rookie, but Lamar needs some help out there. And the
It's
running
going
game
to be
sucks
tough.
too. The running
Yeah,
game,
Gus Edwards hurt,
yeah.
so we're
I
going
mean,
to be
Justice
seeing what
Hill, Justice
Justice
Hill,
Hill
I
and
think is
Melvin
back,
Gordon. Missing
but
Melvin Gordon getting snaps.
I think this might be the team that takes Jonathan Taylor. I
Yeah,
think
I
they
I
might
listed him
realize
in my
that.
tweet. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't.
Jonathan Taylor reportedly still wants a trade, and I said that the Ravens should be the first ones calling and willing to extend because J.K.
Mhm.
Dobbins probably isn't a guy that you're getting ready to pay.
Yeah,
It
and
sucks to say, but it's the truth of things. And you have Lamar signed up
mhm,
now, pair him alongside a great running back, and you got some magic going for the next couple of years.
mhm.
Uh, I, you know, I lean Baltimore when it comes to the spread. But this Cleveland defense is so good, man. I might talk myself into the Browns to cover. The thing that I will talk myself into is the under. The over-under is 40.5. I wouldn't be shocked if this is a real 17-16 grinded out win for whichever team gets it done. It's a really low over-under. Both defenses are good. The Browns defense may be the best in the NFL. And Deshaun Watson had a better game than he has last week. But Harbaugh and that Ravens defense, they're going to come prepared. I think they'll be ready. There's a reason I didn't bet it. Steelers, Texans. Steelers 2-1 travel to Houston to take on the 1-2 Texans. Pittsburgh favored by 3. I almost took Pittsburgh in my bets. I was right there. I was right there on Pittsburgh. But man, CJ Stroud's looked good. He's looked like the best rookie quarterback in this draft. That's what I'll say. He has looked like that. You're giving me that look. Was this part of your picks?
No,
No.
no.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute. Should I not be going here? That Steelers defense is legit, though. And usually, how I just mentioned, good teams after a bad loss, bad teams after a good win usually tend to come back down to earth. Pittsburgh, very well at the end of the weekend, could be leading this AFC North division. If them and Cleveland win, they have the tiebreaker. So I lean Pittsburgh, but I'm excited for this Texans team's future. I thought they smashed the draft this year. Stroud looks like the best rookie quarterback. Will Anderson, he's not Jalen Carter, but he's right there. And Tank Dell, he's emerging as this team's wide receiver 1. So I'm excited to see it, but I do think Pittsburgh ultimately is the better team, and I'd take them to cover 3.
I got Houston.
Money line?
I got Houston. I think this is the game that really turns the corner for that Houston organization. I said Stroud was a bust, and I'm gonna stick to it. But he's been looking really good. Tank Dell, he like you said, he's been playing out of his mind. They got Nico Collins back there. The thing with me is I think the Texans defense is playing a lot better than people expected, and even Stingley's not even playing. And I think that this weekend that they really kind of terrorized Kenny Pickett. And because of that, they kind of control the pace and they squeak out a W at the end, maybe a game-winning field goal. So I'm going to take the Texans, and we're going to see what happens. But they're playing really well, and it's awesome to see because D'Amico Ryans, he's a huge
Yeah.
Philly guy, awesome guy. So hopefully he
My
keeps it up.
roommate's actually a Texans fan, so
Okay.
I root for them. But
All right.
I didn't see it. We got another 0-3 versus 0-3 battle here. The Vikings travel to Carolina. Looks like Bryce Young's on track to play. We'll see if that's a good or a bad thing at this point for Carolina. The Vikings, man, they got to win this one.
Yeah.
They really got to win this one. If they don't, Kirk Cousins will be on a new team. If they go 0-4, the season's over. I mean, 0-3, it feels like the season's over, but it's not really. 0-4, the season's actually over. So for 2 teams this week, their season will be over. That's what I'll say. With the talent that these 4 teams have, there's not a single team that can come back from 0-4. The Vikings could come back from 0-3 and make the playoffs in the NFC. So that being said, they have to win. Justin Jefferson, we know he'll be on a mission out there. Neither team is good, obviously. That's why they're all both 0-3. But at a certain point, the Vikings have the best offensive player. The Vikings have the better quarterback. The Vikings have the better head coach at this point. Minnesota's got to win. I don't know if they cover 4. If it's raining in Carolina, I'll take Carolina to cover. But if it's a nice day, I'll take Minnesota to have a statement win. That offense puts up points, even in losses. They're going to continue to put up points. I don't think Carolina will be able to keep pace.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. If Minnesota loses this game, they're gonna blow that stadium up. So Minnesota better win because they're playing Carolina and they've been looking super rusty and shaky. And Bryce Young, what if he comes in here and this is his first dub and just absolutely destroys Vikings fans? That'd be kind of crazy. But I think Minnesota wins. They should win. And if they don't, like you said, Cousins is gone.
Yeah. We got a real interesting game here. Rams, Colts. On ESPN, it's a pick'em. On FanDuel, I believe it's Colts -1 currently. So pretty close to a pick'em on both. Rams coming in at 1-2 after losing to Cincinnati on Monday Night Football, a short week. The Colts come in off of beating the Ravens, and it looks like Anthony Richardson should be good to go this Sunday. The Colts, leading that division right now at 2-1. Winning here, going 3-1 could definitely make a statement, could definitely push forward. There's still the whole Jonathan Taylor doesn't want to play for this team. That's still looming, as we mentioned earlier. The Rams, I don't want to say it's must win because it's not. But to get to 500 before Cooper Kupp comes back, which we're presuming he's going to come back in week 5, we'll see. We'll see. He hasn't been ruled out. But so to get to 500 to a point where Cooper Kupp can come back and you can have an offense of Stafford, Kupp, Puka, Tutu. This is another team that I think could be in on Jonathan Taylor. Who knows what kind of deals take place this weekend? Those GMs will be there talking. I'm just saying. The Rams got that face-to-face thing going in their favor.
Yeah,
I think the Rams
mentioned.
I think the Rams go win this game. I think Aaron Donald will welcome Anthony Richardson to the league. And I don't think the Colts have the pass rush that Cincinnati does. That's how you beat the Rams, with a pass rush. I learned on Monday Night Football that the Eagles are going to crush the Rams in week 5. But I don't think the Colts have that pass rush. I think the Rams pull out the win here.
I got Colts. I think this is a statement game for AR, and kind of like a back to reality for the Rams, because they had a really big win at the beginning of the year and they've lost 2 after that. So for me, AR is back this week. With the Rams, for me, I think it's more so like you mentioned that the O-line, it looked abysmal last week, and I know the Colts don't have the best D-line, but I still think they could get pressure on him. And I'm excited to see kind of how Zach Moss performs this week, because last week he balled out against the Ravens.
Yeah.
And, this week he might be playing for his job, because if he balls out again, it might be like, we don't need you, Jonathan. Like,
yeah,
do whatever you want to do. And so
I think the way he's played over the last 2 weeks, even if he had a down week, with the way Jim Irsay operates, I think Zach Moss could be the guy still.
Yeah. Michael Pittman, he's been having a really good rebound year. So
Josh Downs getting a lot of targets too.
Yeah. So I think the Colts sneak this W out, and I'm excited to see how this plays out. So
yeah, me too. Commanders at Eagles. Our Eagles hosting the Washington Commanders, who lost last week, I believe.
Not sleep on this game, bro.
37-3. The Eagles are favored by 9 at home.
Hey.
This normally, to me, I would tell everybody this is a trap. Take Commanders +9. Here's what I'll say going into the game. Sam Howell has been the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. The Eagles have an incredible defensive line. You can run the ball on this Commanders team. The Eagles may be the best running team in football. A.J. Brown found his way last week. We know who Devonta Smith is. This Commanders team last season is the team who gave the Eagles their first loss at Philadelphia at the Link. And it was on that bogus, like, quarterback late hit, unnecessary roughness,
that was
where the quarterback was about to get sacked
brutal.
and he just collapsed. And then the Eagles defensive end couldn't pull back at that point, so he landed on top of him. And it was called unnecessary roughness in the clock. That's the game. I'm not saying the Eagles would have won. Obviously, they would have had like 40 seconds to get in field goal range, but you took away the opportunity. That's what I'll say. And that's how they lost Super Bowl too. But we don't need to dive down that rabbit hole. So I think the Eagles are going to dominate this weekend. I know the 9-point line in a divisional game is scary. I definitely know that TCK, the college kids, they're probably not going to be on Philly. We got to represent Philly on this channel. I'm taking the Eagles -9, but it's not my best bets, but that's the side that I lean
on. So for me, this is where I stand. So the Commanders always give us problems. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback, who's on the team. They're always very sneaky games, and sometimes they lose, sometimes they barely escape at the end, barely cover. So for that reason, I would be super worrisome to bet the spread. I think they do, but I would not be like, yeah, you got to do it,
Right. You lean that way, but it's not the best bet. It's not on best bets.
That's totally fair. But like you said, the D line's going to dominate. I was having a talk with somebody yesterday, and it was like the same stuff we're talking about, where it's like everybody's pinpointing on Jalen Hurts. He's not playing as good as he was last year. And it's like, so what? We're winning by 20 points, and we're still not at our best play, So, like, can you imagine how good we'll be when Jalen Hurts really steps into that role with his new OC and really turns it on? Like, winning by 35, bro. Yeah. So, best O-line, best D-line in the league. Receiver-wise, I want to see how Dallas Goedert plays this week. He's been really, pretty quiet this year. I think he might have a big game this weekend. And like you said, DeAndre Swift, it's crazy. Like, nobody would expect I'm not sure if he's the top rushing. I think he's the second rushing leader so far this year. And who would have expected that after his Detroit Lions stint? So, Eagles win, maybe cover. I think they do, but we'll see. But, I mean, it's pretty much for me, it's just like the real hope opener for the Eagles because, I mean, they did a Thursday night, but it wasn't like it was, I don't know. I don't consider that the home opener. So this is like the real one.
Yeah. I also want to take this opportunity. It's going to be great for a clip, too, to talk about this. It's going to seem ranty. The Eagles tush push should not be banned. We shouldn't be talking about it being banned. This is an absolute joke that this is a conversation that continues to go on.
I didn't hear Tom Brady.
Yeah, the Tom Brady quarterback sneak, that was never talked about as banned. And here's what they'll say. Well, that was
Tom Brady wasn't pushed.
Yeah, not pushed. Okay, here's what I will say about the pushing thing. Your quarterback cannot do it. Okay? Your quarterback cannot run this play. Why do you think that not a single other team runs this play on a consistent basis like the Philadelphia Eagles do? Because it is unique to the freak athlete that they have at quarterback. That is what makes the play special. That'd be like saying Cam Newton shouldn't be able to do the jump over because that's bad for football. No, Cam Newton was an athletic freak, and that's why he could dunk over the line. Jalen Hurts is an athletic freak, and that's why the tush push works. It works because you have Jason Kelce, the best center, a Hall of Fame center, at the center spot. You have Jalen Hurts, a quarterback who can squat 600 fucking pounds at quarterback. Okay, the Texans tried to run it this past week. I don't know if you saw, the Texans fullback was on Pardon My Take, and they asked him about it, and he said, I don't think it should be banned. We tried to run it with CJ, and CJ said, this fucking sucks. I don't want to run this again. And CJ, I know you don't like Ohio State quarterbacks, but he's built. he's another guy who, he's got size on him. That's a guy that could potentially do it. But you know who's not going to go do this tush push ever? Jared Goff, Joe Burrow. Patrick Mahomes probably isn't going to do it. He doesn't really have the calf strength right there to consistently do that. I'm trying to think of what quarterback in the league maybe could do it. Kyler and Bryce Young are too small to do it. There's not another, maybe Josh Allen could do it. You could probably convince me Josh Allen could do it, but I don't think he wants to do it. I think he'd rather do the Cam Newton approach and just kind of push through himself. But the whole idea of this play ruins football is egregious because, one, it takes a whole team to be firing on all cylinders to complete all in a row. It's not just one guy running this play. Two, if this was an unstoppable play, your team would be running it with a backup quarterback. You don't think they've tried? You don't think other teams have tried bringing in a backup quarterback that's a little bit stronger and maybe could do it? And I saw Stephen Che on Barstool. He said some outlandish, teams are going to start signing bodybuilders and having them be. You think a team's going to have a bodybuilder on the 53-man roster to run the tush push? Maybe once.
Taysom Hill.
Come. Yeah, but Taysom Hill doesn't even run it. So my point being, these other teams have had to have tried this at practice because we watched it all last year. They tried to get it banned. It didn't get it banned. We had a whole off season of other teams to perfect it. And we are 4 weeks, a month into this season, and not a single other team can do it but the Eagles because they have the best center and the quarterback that's made for it. I don't know if after this year, if Jason Kelsey's not an Eagle, I don't know if the Eagles will be able to run this play anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know at what level it's Jalen Hurts or Jason Kelsey, but I know you need a really good center and a really strong quarterback to make it fire. And guess what? If another team could do it, if another team wanted to do it, they could all sign Cam Newton. He could probably do it, but they don't. It's just a bunch of whining and bitching from fans who, for some reason, don't like the fact that the Eagles pick up 2 yards on a play. Like, it's 1st and goal at the 1 and the Eagles tush push. Like, would it really have made you feel better if they did a fullback dive 3 straight times and then got in? Like, they're getting in with that offensive line anyways. So, like, stop it.
Yeah, and I seen like Chris Sims was, I think, talking about maybe yesterday or the day before. He was like, oh, if they're so good at this, then they should go headhunting and take out Jalen Hurts. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're going to take out his head because he's good at this? And then people were saying, oh, like, the Eagles could just, if they start to get like 4 or 5 yards of play, they could start doing that, and then they would be like unbeatable. I'm like, what are you talking about?
First off, that tush push is never getting 4 or 5 yards.
That's what they're
but
saying.
It's never going to happen. That play can't pick up 4 or 5 yards at a clip. That's just called a designed quarterback run at that point. And you're not going to put that wear and tear on your quarterback over and over again for one.
It's because they just hate us.
Have you heard a single NFL player complain about this play? I haven't heard a single player say anything about this play.
Retired, yes. Not active.
Not active. I haven't heard a single active player complain about it. Maybe that's because they all tried to run it at practice this offseason, but couldn't. But I don't know. You guys leave your thoughts in the comments on that one. But
hate us because they ain't us, bro.
Hate us because they ain't us. So a little side rant there. Let's get back to the Sunday previews here. Raiders at Chargers. Chargers favored by 5.5, depending on where. The Chargers are – you think the Chargers should cover, but they have got to be the scariest team in the NFL to bet on. They have to be – you look at the teams and you're like, the Chargers got this. Austin Eckler, I'll break the news. He's not playing this week. He could get in as many limited full practices. The Chargers bye week is week 5. He's not playing this week. That being said, Justin Herbert, I'd take his over on yards this week again because Josh Kelly is ass. And this is coming from a guy who started Josh Kelly 2 weeks in a row in fantasy, so that's where my hatred comes, and it's well-deserved because you had a matchup versus the Vikings and got 2.3 fantasy points. Ass. But Keenan Allen, I'll be interested to see Mike Williams done for the year now. Does Quentin Johnson step into that role? Josh Palmer season.
Palmer season.
I picked up Quentin Johnson in fantasy. Somebody put in a
I mean,
waiver
he
on
better ball. They drafted him in the first round, bro.
somebody put in a waiver on Josh Palmer, and then I woke up, didn't feel like using a waiver because I didn't need one, and saw Quentin Johnson, didn't have a waiver place on him, so I dropped.
Yeah, it's
I just
definitely worth it.
dropped and scooped and
Yeah.
said we'll see what happens here. The Raiders, Jimmy Garoppolo on track to play this. This game very well could be a battle of who's going to be second place in that AFC West. Yeah, I hope for Justin Herbert and for the Chargers they win this game. And I feel like my heart leans Chargers. My head would probably bet Raiders plus 5.5. It's a decent amount of points. Divisional game. The Raiders always play the Chargers tough too. But I hope the Chargers go out there and ball.
Yeah, rest in peace if you're playing Devontae Adams in fantasy this week, because that Chargers secondary is abysmal. And you saw what Adams did last week against a decent Pittsburgh secondary.
Tyreek had about 200 on him, right? Put 200 on their head tops.
Yeah. So
Justin Jefferson was like what, 163?
He was up there. I
forget who they played week 2.
And he had a super slow start too. So
yeah,
good luck with that.
They played the Titans in week 2. Treylon Burks had 76 yards, which that's a miracle for Treylon.
Yeah. So, like you said, the Chargers have to win this game. If they don't, then they're just the Chargers. I did see something interesting this week that this is probably the first year that Justin Herbert has been playing good in every quarter. Last year and the year before, he was pretty much a first half quarterback, and second half he kind of stunk the joint up. But Kellen Moore's in there. He's playing amazing football. Fantasy-wise, I mean, him and Keenan look like Randy Moss and Tom Brady out there. So, they better win this game. They should win this game. We're going to hope they win this game. If they don't win this game, then we know why they lost this game, because there's a coach that should be coaching. But that's for another story.
Yeah, I tweeted. I said if Brandon Staley wasn't the Chargers head coach, Justin Herbert would win MVP this year. 100%. He's playing at such a high level, and somebody said, because I tweeted and I put the numbers, and then I made a TikTok about it, and somebody said, Tua still got better numbers, and Tua does, but I can make the case that week 1 the Chargers win that game if Brandon Staley's not the coach.
110%, dog.
So the talent that the Chargers have, it's unreal. Patriots at Cowboys. Cowboys third by 6.5. How many points did the Cowboys need to score to cover this spread? How many points can Mac Jones and that Patriots offense put up against Dallas, his defense? That's the question, right? We saw Josh Dobbs move the ball pretty well. Can Mac Jones and the Patriots do the same? Is this Dallas defense really screwed without Trayvon Diggs? That's what we're going to see this weekend. I was, close to putting the Cowboys on my best bets too, but I want to wait and see. I want to wait and see what that defense is. Maybe Trayvon Diggs was the glue. I don't think so. I lean Dallas, right? How many points is this Patriots team going to score? Maybe 17. You got to get, 24 out of Dallas then? Seems doable. But it is Bill Belichick. It is that Patriots defense. And Bill Belichick takes away your number one option. CeeDee Lamb might have a quiet day. Dak Prescott may look like Dak Prescott yet again.
Yeah, bro. So I'm going to take the Cowboys. I think they better hope they win this week, or else you're going to have some serious stories coming out of Dallas next week. But I think they win. I do think that the Patriots may cover. I think it's a close game, in my opinion. Christian Gonzalez looks amazing already. He's been only playing 3 weeks, but he was Oregon guy. You know who he is. And when they drafted him, I was like, bro, that's a steal and a half. He was on the board for way too long.
Yeah.
So that was.
I thought the Eagles were going to take him. I mean, obviously the Eagles got Jalen Carter, but I think that's who the Eagles were going to take potentially if they weren't blessed with Jalen Carter.
Yeah, for sure. So it looks great. Mac Jones hasn't been playing awful. Last week it was a really weird game, that Jets game. I don't know what was happening, but 2 weeks before, he's been putting up some numbers. I'm not a Mac Jones guy, but I think he could get enough going to maybe get this upset. But I'm going to take Dallas, and hopefully, like you said, that defense looks better. That offense especially, they look like they didn't know what was happening last week. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And the last game we're going to talk about before the best bets is Cardinals Niners. The Niners are favored by 14 points, 2 tubbies at home. Cardinals coming off of a huge win. Niners 3-0. Deebo Samuel trending towards out. So, be without Deebo, it'll be Ayuk, McCaffrey, Kittle. This is one of the tougher games to bet on spread wise. It feels like a good game for a 7-point teaser. I really like the Niners by a touchdown. You just kind of wonder with Dallas next week if this is one of those games where Stanford gets in and gets out and tries to be healthy, because they are a level above Arizona. I'll say that they're probably 2 levels, 3 levels, But Arizona's frisky, man. They go out there and they compete. That team is competitive from top to bottom. Every game they've been in this year has been a competitive game with Washington, the Giants, and Dallas. Played the NFC East, and they competed. Divisional game here. I kind of like the Cardinals plus 14 in terms of a spread. I can't bring myself to bet it. I can't. But that's where I would lean if you said, Dylan, you have to bet a part of this spread.
No, for sure. I kind of feel that way too, just because, like you mentioned, they could be up like 21 points, 20 points, and the Cardinals are driving at the last 2 minutes, and they score that touchdown, and they lose by 13. So it's a lot of points. Arizona's been playing very good, but San Fran, they'll get the dub convincingly probably. But I want to see how Brock Purdy plays, because this Cardinals defense isn't bad, I don't think.
Not bad by
So
any means.
we'll see how he plays. We could talk about that on Tuesday, but it should be good. And spread wise, I probably would lean your side. I might take Arizona points.
Yeah, for sure. And before we hop into the best bets segment here, the NBA season right around the corner. The Ball Boys. We got a basketball in our picture. Dame Lillard was traded to the Bucks.
Dame
No,
time.
a lot of you guys awaiting our reaction to that. Next week, Ball Boys adding a 3rd episode a week for NBA Hoops Talk. The schedule will be Tuesdays and Fridays for your NFL content, Thursdays for your NBA content. We're coming, taking it over exclusively here on the College Kids YouTube channel. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you are. But Nolan, these best bets, let's hear them. I believe last week 2-1. What are you on the season now? 5-4. I believe you're 5-4 and I'm 6-3.
I might be 4-5 because I won. I think one. Yeah, I'm 4-5.
Yeah, 4-5 and I'm 6-3. Cool.
Yes. All
right. So if you got a winning week, you'll be over 500 on a winning week.
Yes. All right. So first game's first. Jacksonville in their second home against the Falcons. They put on a show every time they're in London. The Falcons, they are garbage. They are not for real. And if they lose, that'll be clipped. But the Jaguars, they're a London team. The London fans love them. They're -3. I think that's super low. I think they win by at least 6.
Yeah.
And they just had a horrible loss last week. Like
good teams off a bad loss.
Exactly. So I think for that reason, I'm going to take Jags -3. Calvin Ridley.
Revenge game. Calvin Ridley revenge game.
Let's do something, bro.
Calvin Ridley just dropped a bag on his over on yards.
Don't worry about. Hey, maybe you can do that in London. I don't know. So second game, Bengals -2.5. Joe Burrow, he looked good enough to play well last week. They're playing a Titans team who I think is not good at all. They're at home. The Titans are at home, but 2.5. I think it's super low. They're not giving the Bengals enough credit. Maybe Burrow's not healthy enough, but that Titans team, they've not proved me anything this whole year, and I don't think they will this Sunday. So for that reason,
I worry about that game is Titans got a good D line, and Burrow, I worry about him getting a hit and being removed from the game against that D line. I do.
But you know what? We're still going to take it. We're still gonna risk it for the biscuit. I think that line's too juicy not to take it. Bengals -2.5. Last of the week, Monday Night Football. Seahawks -1 at the Giants. Look, Saquon. Look, even if he does play, I don't think he will. But
I don't think he's playing.
that team, that Seahawks, that Giants team is, bro. Look, have you seen them this whole year, bro? Like it's terrible out. And people are like, oh, they're at home, Monday Night Football. But the Seahawks, they could, they're looking all right now. They're 2-1. They had a slow start week 1. This is a huge game for them. They go 3-1 on the year. And the Giants, how they play. Daniel Jones with the lights shining bright. It's not the best. So I'm going to take the Seahawks -1. So 3-0 week coming. You heard it here first.
Yeah, listen, I don't believe in Seattle, but I certainly don't believe in the Giants either. And in a pick 'em, essentially, I don't hate it. I don't hate those picks. Moving forward, my best bets 6-3 thus far. I'm winning at a 67% clip. They consider you an expert if you win at a 56% clip. Now, to be fair, small sample. We'll see where we're at come the end of the season. However, I share Nolan's sentiment on the Jags -3. Good teams bounce back. Trevor Lawrence is that guy. Desmond Ridder is ass. Okay? I don't know how many points the Falcons can put up in this game, but I guarantee the Jaguars can put up at least 3 more. And like you said, London, their second home. This is a Jaguars must win, it feels like, as well. I think they get the job done. I think they win by at least 3, but I wouldn't be shocked if this was a 27-14 win for Jacksonville, and they won by double-digit points. Next one. This is my riskiest one. Me and Vegas, we were seeing eye to eye on the lines this week, and when that happens, it's tough to pick games. However, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers +3.5. +3.5, so I get cross through the crucial 3 line versus the New Orleans Saints. These two teams, they play each other tough. The defenses are at an all-time high. The under usually hits in this game. With the under hitting, not a lot of margin for a 3.5-point line as well. I don't think Derek Carr plays. Jameis Winston is a turnover machine. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bucs won outright. The Buccaneers are my this year's Seahawks. I think they go in to New Orleans, and I think they might just steal this game outright, but I'm going to take Tampa Bay +3.5. We're all excited to see Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore get into another fist fight, and the under is going to hit, and the Buccaneers are going to cover +3.5. And my lock of the week, Kansas City -9.5 over the Jets. First off, we got Taylor Swift in attendance again, and we saw what happens when she goes to Chiefs games. They win by 40, okay? How many points do you think the Jets with Zach Wilson can score on this Chiefs defense? How many? No, seriously. Peak game. They're A game. 14. 17. So it's 17 as their peak game. The Chiefs just need to score 27 then to cover the line. It's a good Jets defense. But 27, that's doable. Easily doable. And that was peak Jets game. I think the Jets might score 10. And now what? Kansas City just needs to score 3 touchdowns in 60 minutes with Patrick Mahomes. 9.5. Covering it for sure. That's a 3-0 week right there. Absolutely. Be sure to let us know your guys' bets in the comment section. Again, we do it for fun. The experts over on the College Kids. Give them a follow on Twitter. Give us a follow on Twitter. All the links are in the description. 3 episodes a week starting next week. Ball boys take over. We will see you guys then. Until next time. Peace.
Deuces.